and welcome back. So I'm here to show you another one of my blocks I'm doing for our Slow Stitch Collab 7. This one is for Susanna, and her colours were teal, pink and light brown. So at first when I heard that colour combination, I wasn't so sure like what I'd do, like nothing sprang to mind. And then I have come up with this. This block has taken me the longest by far out of anyone else's blocks, but I'm really happy with the result, and it's quite stiff through the middle here because there's a lot of stitching. So I'm going to show you what I did with this block and how I made it. So firstly, what I did is I had some of this kind of very pale pink linen, and I used I think it was my Tim Holtz stamp. I'll just show you, it's over here. My Tim Holtz stamp, this one. And what I've actually done, if you can see in the background, I've stamped it very lightly with a light print from this script stamp. So that was just straight onto the fabric, and I used the Stays On ink. I'm just looking at it, I think it was the Timber Brown. I like using the Stays On because I feel like it's a good ink to stamp on lots of different surfaces. So that was the first thing I did, and then what I did, if you can see, I did a very, very tiny sort of cantha or running stitch to stitch the whole piece of fabric down. So this piece here along the edge is actually the selvage from the linen. So the next thing that I did is I had another selvage, which was kind of in a light brown colour. So I got that, and I have this old piece of trim here, and I thought that that was good to go with the teal theme. And then I put a piece of beautiful lace in the background there because Susanna loves lace as well. And I've literally just stitched all of them down and done the running stitch along there. And then what I decided I wanted to do was I wanted to do a vase with flowers in. And I had this very plain sort of tealy green fabric here, but there's nothing on it, it's just a plain fabric, and I thought that was a bit boring, so I decided to create a vase. So these are actually a base fabric, then I cut out, just freehand cut, you can see it's a bit wonky, the oval in this pretty fabric with pink flowers, and then this I cut out from another fabric which was like a script fabric, and it had some illustrations. And then I stitched all that down, and then this is from a fourth different fabric, and that one's a fifth fabric, that stripe there. So I did all of that to create the vase. Around the outside of the vase, I've just done an open lazy daisy stitch the whole way around just to make it interesting. This little motif here came from this fabric. It was either this one or I've got another one, but they're both by Kathy Holden. I'm just seeing if it's on this one. No, I think it's my other one that I don't have here. It's by Kathy Holden, and it's a beautiful fabric where she's basically printed a lot of different vintage ephemera on. So these flowers are actually in my vase. You'll see that in a minute. I'll show you in a minute. And yeah, just those ones from this fabric. So that's what I've done to create my vase. That was just a piece of back of an old quilt that I had, and I've just stitched that down and then put a few buttons and done some French knots down the side there. Then I have some really old Suffolk puffs. These are, you can see they're actually quite torn around the edges, so I've just done a little stitch around the edges, and I've picked her colours of the light brown, the pink, and that's like a very faded sort of aqua tealy colour. I thought it went well, and I love that trim. I have no idea where that would have originally come from, but there's a lady in Melbourne that I buy a lot of old stuff from, and so does my sister, and I got that trim from her. Along the edge, I've done some couching. That's a variegated cotton sort of yarn in the background. It's this one, bright colour. And then I've just couched it on with a pale aqua thread that I have that's variegated as well. You can't quite see the variegation, but it is variegated. And then what I did is I found a whole bunch of fabrics with flowers that I like, pink flowers I was aiming for. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different fabrics there. And all I did, and this actually took quite a while, I just stitched them down with plain cotton thread just like a white cotton thread around the whole thing, layered them up, stitched them all down, and then what I decided to do is do some embellishing. Sorry about that noise, my cat is scratching the carpet. So then on each of the flowers I've done some different type of embroidery, and it's all just straight stitch. There's nothing fancy about this, straight stitch and a bit of back stitch. So I think this was the first one I did. I outlined all the little flowers with a back stitch. That was a variegated pink and cream thread. Just making sure, just checking that I'm in focus. And then I've done a little bit of stitching, a little bit of green where the leaves are, added a little bit of lavender just to make those flowers look a little bit different. These ones here was from that Kathy Holden fabric, and I've just done some little bit of straight stitching in different colours on the three. That's a lighter one, a darker pink, and then even a darker pink. And then I've just done a bit of stitching to make it have like a little pom-pom middle. These two took me a really long time because they are literally just stitched all over them. So this is a whole bunch of different shades of pink and some little tiny French knots in the middle. Okay, even out to these side leaves, and literally it's all just straight stitching, so it's the most basic stitch you can do. This one took a really long time. This is a variegated pink and light brown thread, so I thought that went perfectly, and then I changed it up a little bit for the inside just to make it look interesting, and that was a variegated pink, and it had some shades of purple and cream as well. On the leaves on this one we've got fly stitch, which is one of the stitch that we did on one of Anne Brooks's tags recently, so I used that stitch. And on this one I've just done a bit of random stitching and left a lot of the printed fabric underneath, but I really like the way, especially I like the way that's turned out. I think that looks really good. And then finally, just to top it off, I just felt like I needed something up the top here. So in kind of an aqua teal thread, I had an old perle thread. I like a lot of old notions and threads and fabrics, as you may have noticed. I've just done a little cross and then a little pink stitch over the top in the middle, if you can see that. So that one, I'll show you the back. There's a lot of stitching. So even like stitching everything down, you can see all the white stitch there, and then the teeny tiny stitches where I stitched down all the fabrics the whole way around, and then the embroidery. Whilst there's not as much thread on the back, most of it's on the front, but there would be probably thousands of stitches in this piece. This one has taken me the longest out of any, but I'm actually really, really pleased with the result, and I feel like I might want to make one for myself because I think this is really pretty. And even the colours, which I wasn't sure about how they'd look, I really like the way they've turned out. So that's my block for Susanna. I'm going to get that in the mail today. Sorry, Susanna, I actually did finish making it last weekend, but I've been busy at work and I haven't got out of work until after 5 every single day this week. But this afternoon, I think I'll be able to get post office just before it closes. And then what I also wanted to show you was my tags from Anne. You've already seen several of these, but I thought I'd show you the close-up. So I'll go through quickly. Tag 1 was white on white. Okay, and then tag 2 was a heart. That flower is actually that flower. So look how different it looks. I forgot that I'd put that on there. It's the same flower. So that was week 2. Week 3 was a scrappy tag, and I did a cicada, embroidered my cicada. I've already shown you that one. Week 4 was the fly stitch. This is probably the tag I like the least. Oh, and again, that flower is, well, it's not the same, but it's the same fabric. That one there comes from that same fabric. So that's the one I just felt I should have done more on it. Should have done some more fly stitching, made it more interesting. It's a bit boring. It's a bit flat. This one, the theme was kisses, and I did 3 kisses down there. So it's actually lots of white lace there stitched out. This one was buttons, and that's one of my favourite tags I've done. Using a really old Suffolk puff, some lace, lots of buttons. We meant to do a bevy of buttons, and this is a old piece of tapestry. I've got this tapestry with lots of roses that are stitched, but it's not filled in, so I've been cutting them out, and I've given some to Mum as well. This one was last week's, well no, the week before. This is hexy. You had to do hexagons. So in the background I've got a piece of old quilt, not this one, similar kind of concept to this one. I've got a lot of old pieces of quilt that I use. Sometimes I cut bits up, sometimes I don't cut it up. So that's that in the background. And then I cut the tiny bird, and again the bird comes from my Kathy Holden fabric, but not this one. It's the other one I've got put away, but it's the same kind of thing. It's ephemera. And I stitched a little heart there. And then we had to make these little hexagons where you fold them over. Anne showed us a technique to do that. I hadn't done that before. And I've actually done really tiny little ones. So using my ruler, sorry, just a bit awkward here. Just put that over the edge. So using my ruler, I think I did some of this size and this size, which is quite small. Doesn't say. Just says 30 and 28, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's, I'm not sure. But anyway, this one, and then Anne shows you how to fold your circle so that it ends up as hexagons. And I decided to turn mine into a little flower garden. So we've got some couching for the stems, some little felt leaves. Just focusing again. And just some different stitching. So I did some French knots in the middle there. I stitched a little lace daisy in the middle, a bit of random spiky stitching there, and some that was French knots, and so was that. So that's last week, and then this was this week that we've just done. Now this one, 100% inspired by Hen's Teeth. I love her work. I always look at her work. I've been following it for years. I wanted to try and do one of her butterflies. She makes cool butterflies out of old pieces of quilt. So literally this is just a piece of quilt, and I have freehand cut the little wings. And then what I did is, if you can see on the edge, I've done a tiny blanket stitch in just a thin red cotton, like a normal cotton. And then what I've done first is I stitched down a piece of this fabric. This is a little bit, it might be Kath Kitson, I'm not sure. Just done a running stitch in a crochet cotton like this to keep that down in the background. And then I stitched down a piece of lace trim. So then I made my butterfly, and in the center, in the background, the middle of the body of the butterfly is actually like a navy blue sort of charcoal-y colored wool. It's like for a suit, and I've cut out the body. And then the theme for this week was bullion stitch, and so these little ribs on the body are all bullion stitch with a variegated green thread. And then we had to do pistol stitch, and I've got pistol stitch there for the antennas. And then down here, if I fold the wings back, you can see I've done little pistol stitch for the stems and little French knots to be like a little flower garden. And I've used some variegated threads as well, so that's why we've got some different colours coming through. I like that it's dimensional and that the wings can lift up. And then I thought this was a bit boring, so I like the little buttons that I've added down with a pop of red to pick up the red that's in the flower. So I really like how this one turned out. And on the back, it was week 8. You had to do French knot, bullion stitch, and pistol stitch. So that's what I've come up with. I think that's a cute little tag. So that was week 8, and today, later on tonight, it's almost midnight for us when it comes out, is week 9. So I'm waiting for my week 9 theme so I can get on with that next tag. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed having a look at my latest stitching projects, my piece for Susanna, and then my tags. And I will be back again soon to show you some more. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.